another episode of Moments Off the Mat. My name is Taylor Miller. I'm the manager of communications at USA Wrestling, and today I'm joined by the Oregon State staff. We've got Nate Engel, Chris Pendleton, Isaiah Martinez, and Mike Kassoy. So thanks for joining. I'm going to start off this first question. I'm going to hand it over to Isaiah first. What is it like on campus right now? I imagine all the students are back.
For the most part, so we're a quarter-based system, so school doesn't start for another 3 weeks. So it's just kind of been a summertime feel on campus. Mostly it's just athletes, returning in their waves, and I'm still very curious to see kind of how it's going to be once school starts, because honestly, campus has been kind of dead, but I imagine that it's going to be pretty bustling when everyone starts school again.
Yeah, and Chris, with Chris is the head coach, for those of you that don't know. With the uncertainty of what the NCAA season holds for us, how are you guys as a staff planning for this next season?
Well, planning and just kind of waiting are two different things. It's a little bit, the world's changing every day. The world is literally changing every day, and I think these guys have done a fantastic job of communicating with the athletes. Our priorities are their health and safety, and then controlling what we can control. And by that, I mean, is why there's so much uncertainty, why there's so much up in the air. We're just going to be the examples for the athletic department about coming in, having a great attitude, and getting the work that we are allowed to do, getting that work in. And Taylor, to kind of hop on your question, Isaiah, think about still water in the summertime without the god-awful humidity. That's pretty much what it's like in town right now.
Tough. So for you guys, this is all recent change. And after Corvallis, Chris, you were hired, I want to say the beginning of all the quarantine stuff, and then everyone else kind of followed along with it. Chris, why were you drawn to Oregon State? What made you want to take this job?
The colors and the no, but honestly, I've been coming to Corvallis off and on since 1999. I knew that it was a program very similar to Oklahoma State, where I'm an alum with a deep history and tradition. And I actually kind of underestimated how deep that history and tradition actually is. As we've all been here and we've got to meet people, alumni, and people close to the program, the passion and this respect that wrestling has in the community definitely reminds me of my college experience. So it was one of those deals where, like you said, right after the Pac-12 championships, I had a 541 area code pop up on my cell phone, and I got offered to interview for the job. And the next week, the world completely changed. I remember I was supposed to meet with Dan Bartholomew and Scott Barnes, our associate athletic director and our head athletic director at the NCAA championships. I had it scheduled a breakfast on Tuesday morning, and I think it was like Sunday night, the NCAA's got canceled. So how we're doing the world right now through Zoom is how I decided my family's future.
So you've got Nate and Isaiah as assistant coaches and Mike as a volunteer assistant. What went into selecting this group of guys to be your support staff?
Sure. We'll kind of just start. Nate Engel was my first hire. Nate and I go a ways back. He's got a funny Fargo story about me stealing his pillow or something. I don't know. It changes every other week, where I just become worse and worse as a human being for taking his pillow. Where I actually use my alumni network, where I asked a lot of questions, being a first-year head coach, and I talked to a lot of people, and Nate's name kept getting brought up as somebody that I should look at. And last summer, I was fortunate enough to spend time over in Estonia with Nate and his wife, Michaela. Nate was coaching the junior Greco World team, and I had an ASU athlete that was on the junior Greco team, and for some reason, I was over there coaching Greco, where basically I just was carrying a backpack and walking around, where I got to watch Nate, how he conducted himself, how he carried himself. And one of the things that I made sure when I was thinking about how I wanted to structure the program and how I wanted the coaching staff is I wanted people that believed in the same things, that had the same moral character and thought process on the holistic development of the student athlete. And when you just watch Nate interact with kids, you get to see that he truly, truly believes in helping them as people first and wrestlers second. And that really attracted him to me. And then as the process was going on and I just started talking to people, it just became a no-brainer that, he's the guy that I wanted to be in the program. Then my second hire was Isaiah Imar. Some fun fact about Isaiah is we're actually from the same high school. Obviously, we're a couple years older, and he was giving me a hard time at practice today because he thinks my eyes are going. Which when I'm like, I'm not going blind, Isaiah. When you shove a phone in my face, I'm gonna jerk back. I'm not going that old. I'm getting a little bit of gray, but not that bad. But anyway, so Isaiah's mom lives a couple blocks from my mom in California. And so when I was a senior and I was ranked number 2 in the country and, the big man on campus, Isaiah was a little kid running around the Lemoore Farm Boy Kids Club, jumping on the pull-up bars and just being a holy terror. And I've got to watch Isaiah develop from a little kid to a dang good high school wrestler to one of the most dominant wrestlers in NCAA history, and now walking around one of the most dangerous wrestlers on the planet. And the joy of it, of hiring him, is getting to see him develop as a young coach, hearing him ask questions, seeing how he interacts with the kids. Obviously, any recruit in the country gets excited when they get Imar on the phone, but then when they get to really know Isaiah, they get him more excited. And then I found out he's probably the best fisherman on the staff. Him and Kosoy will debate that. So it's been really fun getting to have him and his fiance up here in Oregon with us. And then my last hire was Mike Kassoy. Mike was actually an RTC athlete at Arizona and was right there while I was going through the whole interview process and helped me pack up the house. Somehow he put a bunch of his furniture in my U-Haul and then just showed up in Corvallis. We're still not quite sure what his role on the staff is. I'm kidding. Mike, like I said, was training with us at Arizona State, but he came to Arizona from NC State, where Pat Paplesio, one of my OSU alumni, was his coach. When Pat took over NC State, I believe they were about 63rd in the country, 63rd, something around there, where obviously it was time for a change. And Mike had signed with the previous coaching staff, and they got let go, and Pat came in. And Mike was on the ground floor of getting to watch a transformation of a program. And I love when I'm trying to do something that I'm not sure about, or I have a big task ahead of me, I ask a lot of questions. I rely on mentors. And so I have had a lot of talks with Pat about what he did, what worked, what didn't work. But that was from a coach's perspective. Mike was able to give me a perspective from the athlete. And so then when we finally had the opportunity, I offered Mike the job, and he told me no. He turned me down. And I was like, okay, well, you're dead to me. But a couple weeks later, Nate Engel and him FaceTimed me, and they had I tell people all the time, Nate's one of the best recruiters in the country. He signed Mike Kassoy on the staff. And so it's really a good, I'm sorry, my phone's going nuts. It's really a good staff where we all complement each other. We all come from a little bit of different backgrounds, but we all have the same vision in mind for the student athletes about doing things the right way and having the holistic development of the student athlete.
That's awesome. I want to hear from the other coaches as well as why they decided to, go on this kind of journey with Chris and take on these positions at Oregon State. So let's start with Nate, and then we can move to Isaiah and then Mike. So Nate, why Oregon State?
If you look at the tradition and the history of Oregon State wrestling, the alumni, everybody that's been here before us and how successful they've been in the past, it was a no-brainer. And then also talking to Chris and hearing his vision of where he wanted to take Oregon State wrestling, and talking to Dan, our assistant AD, it's just they have all the resources to be very, very successful again. Obviously, you work with Les Gutchis and the different alum that are still in our sport from Oregon State is huge. And so that really attracted me to it. And then once I heard Isaiah and Mike were going to be on board, I knew that that was a family that I wanted to be a part of. So, you know, it's beautiful up here. It's a great place to raise a family, great place to coach. So that's my reason of taking the job.
Oh, give me 1 second, guys. I'm walking downstairs. I was outside on my balcony, and it was getting a little windy.
Mike, why don't you take over?
Yeah, I mean, Nate kind of touched on it. I felt like Oregon State was a place with a really, really high ceiling, a lot of potential. I just hung out with some alumni here last week, and I mean, they're hungry for, you know, for change, for success, for a staff, you know, for just a different path. And I wasn't for sure about my route in life before Chris offered me this job. I wasn't sure about coaching, and before Nate talked to me about it. But I knew if I did want to get into coaching, that it'd have to be the perfect opportunity. I couldn't think of 3 other individuals that I knew previously before this that I'd rather take on this journey with, because they're all of high moral caliber and integrity, and I'm just excited to see what we could do here. Is Isaiah ready?
Yeah. So I think, you know, I put a lot of thought into this decision, and it was right around the time that the trials got pushed back. And, you know, my plan all along, you know, one of my dreams was to be a college wrestling coach. And just everything with the timing that happened, it just kind of seemed like the right time. You know, I'm from California. My fiance's from California. So, you know, she was really missing her family, and I was missing my family. And so, you know, there was a lot of factors that kind of made the right decision. And then when you look at Oregon State, they have, you know, all those, you know, special components that can make it a powerhouse university. And then when Chris got the job, like, I've known Chris, I don't know, almost 2 decades now. Like he said, he was the, you know, big time wrestler when I was in, you know, in the kids clubs, and I grew up seeing his name on the board. So, you know, it was, you know, I had faith in him that he was going to do a great job. I've had previous interactions when I would go out to Arizona State and train, and I was like, man, this guy really knows what he's talking about. So, like, I really kind of put my faith in him, and I actually reached out to him first and was like, if, you know, I heard you're getting the job. If you do, keep me in mind. And then, you know, about a week later, I got a phone call, and, you know, the rest is history. We packed up all my stuff, and, you know, me and my fiance drove a U-Haul out to Corvallis.
31 hours.
Something like that.
21, is that what you said?
I think 31.
Oh, 31. Wow.
His original plan was he was going to drive out, then fly back, and then drive again, right?
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. I tend to overestimate myself sometimes.
So it sounds like there's a lot of excitement from you guys as a staff, and just a lot of good places or good things to work off of. So it sounds like Oregon State's heading in a really exciting direction. I want to move on individually just to some specific things about you guys. Nate, you were at Stanford previously. This is kind of a 2-parter, but you kind of helped cultivate a Greco environment there. Do you plan to, you know, still incorporate Greco at Oregon State?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have quite a few guys on our team that have won Fargo titles in Greco and had some success in Greco. And one big thing when I was talking to Chris about when I was getting hired was for our RTC is we want to have, you know, men's freestyle, Greco, and women's freestyle, because I think it's important to support all 3 styles, right? And especially in today's world with the movement of women's wrestling. So yeah, definitely we're going to have a lot of Greco. You know, the Pacific Northwest in the history of Greco-Roman has produced a lot of Olympians, Oscar Wood, obviously Matt Lindland, you know, Joe Russell, who was a great Greco-Roman wrestler coming out of high school, and different people like that. I'm probably forgetting some people's names, so 100%.
Awesome. And you mentioned women's wrestling as well. And obviously California and Pacific Northwest are really great hot spots for women's wrestling too. So that's exciting to hear that. I said earlier that it was a 2-part question. kind of left out the second part, but you being at Stanford previously, they recently decided to cut their wrestling program. What are your thoughts and what are you doing as far as helping with the efforts of the Keep Stanford Wrestling?
Yeah, obviously it was a gut punch. I mean, to the Pac-12, there's only us, Stanford, and Arizona State are the three actual Pac-12 schools that still have wrestling. And so when they dropped Stanford, it sucked. I mean, I'm obviously very, very close with their coaching staff and the guys on the team, and we had a great year last year. Obviously, NCAA is being canceled, sucked, but definitely staying in contact with them. I think that Jason, Ray, and Alex are the right people to keep Stanford wrestling, and they're doing the right things, getting donors and getting alumni and everybody on board to do everything they can to keep Stanford wrestling. And God willing, they get it saved or keep it, because I think it's important. It's important for you look at Division I wrestling, there's not a ton of Division I wrestling schools on the West Coast, and that takes away another opportunity for kids to stay close to home, to go to a great university. So I know that they're working, day and night to keep the program.
Yeah, and I'll move on to Mike now. Mike, can you kind of describe to us your role as a volunteer assistant? And are you still wrestling? What's that look like for you?
Well, I like to call myself the heartbeat of the staff. I play many roles. I wear many hats, but no, I'm involved in a little bit of everything. I would say whatever the boss man Chris needs me to do, I do, and I'm involved in alumni outreach, fundraising for the RTC. Whatever I could soak up from these coaches and learn is what I'm trying to be involved in. And then as far as wrestling, I'm not really sure. I don't know. I medically retired before before everything got pushed back last year due to COVID. I'm trying to get healthy, so we'll see. We'll see. Right now, I'm just focused on getting healthy and training and keep my cardio up. And when I get back on the mat, we'll see.
Good stuff. And Isaiah, what about you? I'm assuming that you're still wrestling as well. What does taking on this coaching role look like for you?
Yes, absolutely. So after I took the job, I decided that it was time to fix some of the injuries I had. And, I competed with torn labrum in my left shoulder since my sophomore, junior year in college. And it kind of got to that point where I was like, okay, I could continue to wrestle with this injury through this year, but this would be my last year. I would have to retire after this because, it was painful just to do normal things, being propped up with, pillows every single night. So it was, the choice to have surgery was so that I can elongate my career so I can go another quad. Even if, I'm about 10 weeks out from my shoulder surgery right now. And, things are going real well with my PT. And, in about, 2 or 3 weeks, I'll be able to start lifting weights. And then in another month, I'll be able to start, wrestling lightly and then go full tilt in around December. So, yeah, I plan on competing and, going through actually the next quad. But I've kind of been shelved for a little while right now with this shoulder rehab.
Yeah, well, that's exciting to hear about plans for the next quad. I want to ask you something I didn't have written down, but you Burrow some of his toughest matches domestically the last few years. But a lot of people are already counting on a Dake Burrows Olympic trials finals. So what's your response to that? And what are some things that you're working on to get to that trials final spot?
I think I've said this before, and from an outsider's perspective, looking in, it's easy to see that, right? The fans think it's a 2-horse race, and that it makes total sense. Those guys are great, and they've done great things, throughout their entire career. But from an insider's perspective, we kind of see what goes on, and it's easy to have confidence in myself, when I know just how close I am and the steps that I have to take to win those matches. So it is what it is. I think when I was younger that would dampen my confidence a little bit, but since I've matured a little bit and left college and really worked on my wrestling skills, I have the utmost confidence in myself going into those matches, even if most people think it's a Dake Burrows thing. I can guarantee you that they're aware of, you know, kind of where I'm at. So, no, I'll just say that.
Yeah, and Chris, for guys like Isaiah and guys like Mike who will potentially be competing moving forward, how do you set up an environment for them to get in the right amount of training while still being able to focus fully on the student athletes?
Why are you assuming that Nate and I aren't throwing our hats in the ring?
That's true. I shouldn't have assumed that. My bad.
I mean, I'm seeing all the social media trend right now is calling everybody out for money matches. I'm gonna start calling some people out because I need some more money. Honestly, Taylor, it was something that I knew about when I was kind of picking my staff, and you know, I know that the impact that guys like Daniel Cormier and Jamil Kelly and happy, what was it, 30th anniversary to Jamil Kelly. On this day, he won his silver medal, 20 or 30 years. I can't remember. It was one of those. But I know that the impact that those guys had on me as a young wrestler, when I got to watch Daniel going through the grind, getting up daily, when I got to watch Jamil living the right lifestyle, doing the right things, or Guerrero, or all that's the value of the RTC, that a kid can get up and just watch how these guys just go about handling their business. That's invaluable to me. And I know that it's going to put a little bit more stress on me and Nate, but that's something that Nate and I talked about. We completely support these guys' dreams. We want them going about and winning world and Olympic titles because that's only going to help our program. And that's it.
Yeah, maybe
I'm not coming out of retirement, Taylor.
Well, I was going to say, maybe we could get like a little throwback of a Pendleton Askren thing going on again.
Oh, you pay me enough for that. I'll do that one. Yeah.
I'd love to see that.
You just had hip surgery. I got that.
Perfect.
Wait, I was curious, was that a rivalry?
Drink my coffee.
So in addition to these new jobs for you guys, Nate and Chris, you guys both have babies on the way. Nate a little sooner than Chris, and you've got twins coming. Nate, just how this is kind of changing your world already.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, I don't always say it, but you know my wife Michaela really well, and I mean, she's a godsend because to be able to pick up in a pandemic, move out here while extremely pregnant, you know, I'm obviously super blessed to have her by my side. So it's actually been pretty easy. I mean, obviously I'm not growing the babies, but in the next 2 weeks I'll be a dad. So, you know, it's exciting, and obviously having Chris going through it as well at the same time has been really awesome because, you know, we'll have each other's shoulders to cry on when we're extremely tired from the babies. But no, it's great. I mean, Isaiah and Mike, you know, they're good family men too. So I think we'll be raising 3 boys around some great human beings as the coaches and, you know, our wrestlers.
How's this been for you?
For me, we said we wanted a family environment. It's a lot of coffee, we had 2 couches put into Nate and I's office. So, you know, that 10-minute power nap, it definitely keeps me a little sane. But all in all, it's we're blessed. We're blessed. Every time I feel like I'm getting overwhelmed, I remember that there's a lot of people right now in the world that are going through a lot worse. So we're blessed. I can't wait to watch Nate and Michaela have their boys, and then you know, in January have my boy. And I know I'm going to be spending a lot less money on diapers than Nate because he has twins. So
You might be considering a race for him already. How about that?
Oh, Taylor, you're already. Why you put me on the spot? Come on now.
All right, well, that's all that I have for you guys today, but I just want to thank you guys so much for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us and talk a little Oregon State. So, you guys.
Yeah, just hopefully you can put up a little soundbite. You know, Patrick silver medal at the 1984 Olympic. 88. I can't remember which one it was.
I think it was 70 something.
Yeah, God, old. He's getting old fast.
I feel too. Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
All
Ryan.
right.
Thanks,
Thank you so
Taylor.
much.